my retirement. I didn't know I was retiring. That's news to me. Apparently, and I didn't know this until I posted the video, everyone was under the impression that I was quitting the internet. Yeah, so, being serious now, since this has become such a big issue, I've been in a lot of drama recently. It is a lot. So let's start with the most recent one today. My retirement. I didn't know I was retiring. That's news to me. I'm as shocked as all of you are. I had a ton of fun last night playing a game called Clickleding, which is basically like a cuckoldry simulator, but for clicking against like the Lorax in a hotel room. And I just did like an old school gameplay commentary video. I was bubbly, full of jubilation. I posted it today only to learn that I'm just a big old liar. Apparently, and I didn't know this until I posted the video, everyone was under the impression that I was quitting the internet. So I started scratching at the hair on my chinny chin, wondering, when the did that happen? Was I sleepwalking? Do I have somnambulism? Is this some kind of like, Fight Club situation? But instead of like Tyler Durden, I have Charles Turden here that's just making wrong announcements. It turns out the patient zero behind all of this was a post Jackson made announcing that I would be leaving the podcasts, which is something I thought about periodically for quite a few months now, mainly because I started to recognize that I was becoming the very thing I'd make fun of with being chronically online. Like, I just was always online, and the podcasts were a big proponent of that, and I just kind of wanted to scale back the amount of time I spend online, and I kept Jackson in the loop the whole time here about where my head was at, and last week I told him, hey man, I think this is going to be where I hang up the jersey, but I think I'm just going to be, sailing off into the sunset here and just reducing the amount of stuff I do online. Which he completely understood, so he made the announcement just letting people know that, and then that got spun on Twitter and Reddit as Moist Critical's taking an indefinite hiatus and quitting the internet, fundamentally. Don't know when I'll be back, he's done with the internet because of all this controversy. Patooey on his grave, he's gone. When looking at the post, I don't even know where that's coming from. It's literally just talking about the podcast and me just stepping away. Like, it doesn't extend beyond that. That's the story that they ran with, and that's what most people saw, not the actual post. So everyone thought I was quitting the internet, so I posted that video that I was really happy with because it just felt like an OG old school video that made me happy. And then bang! Just a flood of comments and dislikes all saying I can't even just peacefully walk away from some projects without it being a massive reaction over actual nothing burger information. And trust me, no one has a palate more refined for nothing burgers than me. I have ranted about the stupidest shit of all time, but this was mind-boggling even for me. So to set the record straight, no, I'm not retiring, despite what the experts are telling you. All I did was walk away from a couple of projects. That's really it. Like, that's a pretty normal thing to do, especially when one of them I've been doing for like 8 years. I really didn't think it was that deep, especially not deep enough for how big of a story it's become with all of the wild narratives running around about the true reason that I stopped doing it. So let's get into that drama. I've talked about it on stream, I don't even know how many times at this point, but we'll just talk about all of it in this video here. So, when covering the Ava Tyson situation, I was attacked by a lot of people for not being quick enough. Even though I covered it within like the first 6 hours, people were unsatisfied that I hadn't made a video within like the first 20 minutes of it dropping. And then when I did finally finish the full video covering all of it, it was another massive problem where now I only did it out of an obligation because people called me out, and then I also got accused of being a transphobe because I didn't use Ava Tyson's preferred pronouns, which were she, her. I didn't know that. I thought just calling Ava Tyson by her name was okay, and I had also heard when I went to the Mr. Beast thing, someone refer to Ava Tyson with they. So I was truly under the impression that that was okay. And for that, I was annihilated by a good chunk of Twitter. And then annihilated by another good chunk of Twitter because I called out Sneeko, who was the main proponent about me covering for Mr. Beast to keep the collab alive. I wasn't talking about Ava Tyson because I wanted the Mr. Beast collab. And I talked about how absurd that statement was, especially given his history with fighting against the age of consent. He's been very vocal about how much he hates the age of consent, And so I talked about that briefly at the end of the video, which then changed the whole narrative for a lot of people where I never talked about Ava Tyson and only talked about Sneako. So it was a complete lose-lose, because if I didn't talk about what Sneako was saying, I would have been called a coward for not addressing it and talking about, like, well, he was going to cover for Mr. Beast until Sneako called him out. So, like, if I didn't do it, I would have been attacked. I did do it, still got attacked. It really was unwinnable. To be open and honest here, and I've talked about this a lot, I've always treated my channel kind of like a diary for myself, which is why I just talk about so much different nonsense and so many things that I know a lot of people don't give a fuck about, but some of it's fun for me to talk about, or some of it's just things I care about. So being totally honest, I used to treat the internet as an escape from my dog shit real life. Truly unhappy, really hated most of everything about myself, and the internet was my escape from it. But now it's really become that real life is the escapism for me now. Like, I love posting and creating things, but I don't like interacting with the internet around me anymore. And it's something that I started to realize a couple months ago, and I've talked about it on stream a little bit, how because I've covered so many like drama stories and everything, it's pretty much all that I ever get told about when I'm streaming, and it's become such a massive headache, and it's just constant negativity that I'm fully flooded with. Everything just feels like a lose-lose, and it has been for like the last 6 or 8 months, I feel, where if I talk about something, it's a problem. Even if something is cut and dry, as like Cody Ko having sex with a 17-year-old being bad, I caught a lot of shit for that too. I'm sure a lot of people probably didn't see that, but man, the amount of emails I got and a lot of the things I was seeing, even something as cut and dry as that was an issue when I talked about it. And then if I don't talk about something, or if I don't talk about something fast enough in the time that some people think is appropriate, I'm then accused of covering up for something for an ulterior evil motive. So it just really feels like a rock and a hard place where, regardless, it's just going to be a massive flood of negativity. And a huge critique of me that I've always seen is Charlie's a fence sitter. And I've always said for the entire time I've been on the internet, I'm not special. I'm literally just a normal guy who got very lucky. I just sit here, joke about shit, talk about my opinion on things, and nothing else. I am literally just a guy who yaps, has some fun, talks about shit, does some wacky stuff as well, and that's it. It's just not that deep. It's being perceived in the last, I'd say like the last 2 years, it's really popped off as me making deliberate attempts to appease both sides and play right down the middle to soak up as much as possible. Like it's all this like nefarious scheme where I'm doing this with my hands. And I just don't understand how it's become so incendiary where that's apparently like a really bad thing now. My opinion is not special, and my opinion isn't one that's pandering to any sides or catering to anything. It's literally just whatever's up here. I sit down for like 30 to 45 minutes on like a topic or like a video that I'm joking around about, and I talk about it. I am legitimately just an average, well, below average height guy who's about to turn 30. I'm not just spitting hot takes out the wazoo here. I'm just being myself. That's all this channel ever has been. And now it's become super controversial to do that if it's not like, you know, picking sides on everything, it seems. And it's very frustrating. For the longest time, it was just me having fun. And for the most part, it still is. But I've started to recognize over the last few months that some of the things I do just really aren't fun for me to do, and I've been doing them out of obligation. Mainly internet drama. When I initially started covering drama so many years ago now, it was fun, because it wasn't as serious. Like, the stories were a lot, you know, more quirky. It was easy to get invested because it was kind of just like a soap opera, like a really dumb soap opera. But recently it's been much more serious, and I feel the need to talk about these things because a lot of them are extremely serious with very important topics to discuss. But it has become draining. As much as I never wanted to admit it, I've started to recognize that my mood is immediately impacted by whatever I read on Twitter in the morning. If that's some horrible stuff about a creator or what have you, it immediately affects my entire day and my whole outlook on the day. But I'm just trying to explain that it hasn't been as fun recently. It hasn't. And the main thing, if you've been around the channel for a while, is I've always wanted this to be fun and never feel like a job. And as hard as it is for me to admit this, a lot of this kind of stuff, it has just started to feel like less fun and more of, well, gotta do this because I'm expected to. Like, anytime I go live, most of chat is just telling me about the latest in whatever's happening in the creator space or some other like extremely negative thing going on. And it's like, okay, well, I'm going to have to learn all about that once I turn stream off. So then I spend a few hours learning about these things, and it's all just really upsetting stuff. Like, it's not happy. It's all very sad, bad stuff. And it's been making me not happy. So I definitely think I'll be slowing down on covering internet-related drama or like drama in general. I'll still talk about like really wacky stories and shit like that, but I definitely think I'm gonna be pumping the brakes on like the kind of drama I have been covering recently. And instead, I'm going to go back to focusing on the content that I'm most happy with. Like, if you ask me what content I'm most proud of throughout my entire time on this platform for the last, like, 17, 18 years, none of it would be drama coverage. It'd be things like Skynut. It'd be things like shooting a potato at a tennis racket to see if you can make french fries in midair by frying them in hot oil. It's shit like that. And I think I'm going to go back to that kind of stuff as opposed to the direction that I have been going recently. So, yeah, this was a lot to go over here, but I hope this has cleared everything up. And, yeah, that's really about it. So, yeah.